Hi, my name is Seraphim Hector Matthews, and I'm going to present to you a little bit about the Roman Catholic Church, Roman Catholicism, and its influence that it's had on America and how it's come to existence in America. Now, the Roman Catholic Church is one of the oldest churches in the world, if not the oldest. Um, for many Catholic believers, it was the church that was meant when in Matthew 16, when they speak about Peter being the rock. That was for many believers, that was the church that was meant for many of the Roman Catholics, and for about 1,000 years, it was the reigning church until the Reformation and Martin Luther and the birth of obviously Lutheran religion. Um, Now, it took a little time for the Catholic Church to actually gain ground in America, where Protestantism had been reigning since the beginning of the existence of the colonies, with the Congregationalists or the Puritans. And so, I mean, really only Maryland had any Catholic background. Um, Now, between the Civil War and World War One, that is when Catholics became to come here in increasingly large populations with immigration. Now, Mark, a note in a textbook of History of Christianity in the United States and Canada, explains that immigrants entering the country were primarily Catholic and from Southern and Central Europe. So, different part of Europe from the British and their comments at that point. At this point, the Irish were really the biggest immigrant group, and all of a sudden we have Italians and a whole bunch of different ethnic groups than we have been used to at that point, with much more different ways of life and thinking, much more Catholic based. Um, this became important, those shows, because it shows how there were now opportunities for an ancient tradition to adapt to new setting, as well as increasing opportunities to see its influence on Christianity in the United States. Would it survive? Would it flourish in a way that Protestantism had at that point? Um, at first, it wasn't very well known, whether it would be able to survive. There was so much controversy surrounding Catholicism for many Americans, uh, you know, mainly because it was a very old world tradition. They felt like this had adhered to the Pope, and how can that tradition mix with the idea of the notions of freedom and evangelism and spiritual illumination, that had been so different from the Protestant view of much more free will, and true communication with God. Well, they were wrong about the Catholics. They ended up showing a great maturity in two ways specifically: development of the spirituality and their expertise in politics. They were able to grow sufficiently, especially in urban areas. So Catholicism was eventually, Roman Catholicism, it was beginning to find a home and grow in America at this point. Catholics began to grow, and many immigrants and minorities, especially Hispanics, attached themselves to this traditional ideal and traditional home. Um, Catholicism, despite its traditional ways, it was able to grow in America at this point, and it continues to thrive nearly 2,000 years after the birth of its existence. Well, thank you very much for listening to my presentation.